Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Alexis Ryan, CEO of Building with Systems. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how we helped Kyle Dawson generate $1.6 million in top line revenue in 8 months. First things first, one thing I will say is this type of model, what we did exactly with Kyle, it won't work for every single company. One thing that Kyle does very well is he's very big on company culture. He understands the power of content. So if you are a home service business and a lot of guys, I deal with a lot of different clients, and a lot of guys don't understand content. They don't really care about content, and they honestly don't really care about company culture. So if that's you, then this method the things that we've done with Kyle, it's probably not going to work for you. But if you are someone who does understand social media, the importance of social media, you are someone who does understand overall building great company culture, this will work for you. And another metric, another qualification for this method is you have to be making at least $10 million in revenue. Just for some context, he invested about $300,000 with us, and we got him a $1.6 million return. So it's a 4 or 5x return. But if you don't have that type of cash flow and that capital, then this is not going to work for you. Let's break it down exactly what we did, how it worked, and how you can implement this into your business. What is the issue? The main issue with a lot of roofing companies, a lot of guys have their sales team, and their sales team is made up of just friends, family, people they met off the street. There's no real camaraderie there. There's no real culture, right? So something that Kyle's dealing with, the reason why he contacted me in the first place is because when he first started his business, a lot of his friends joined his company, and they got really comfortable, really fat, really complacent, and they no longer wanted to knock doors.
So what happened was a lot of our reps that were there had gotten comfortable because they had made 40, 50, 60, 70. Some of them had $100,000 in the bank. So
Yeah.
there was no necessity for them to go out there and knock doors
Yeah.
and bring in more deals because they were comfortable.
Yeah.
And they had a pipeline.
So, in a nutshell, what happened with Kyle is when I first came on board, they had 11 struggling reps. And when I say struggling, not to say that they weren't producing, but they were just friends who kind of half-assed a lot of the operation. By the time we stopped working together, they had about 60 reps, sales reps. So by the time we left, we had a total of about 60 total sales reps. And from those 60 sales reps, roughly about 15 were self-gen. There was 5 canvassing managers. Okay. And the canvassing managers essentially were the ones that managed all the canvassers, right? It's pretty self-explanatory. They're the ones that made sure these people were on their routes. They were they were guys who essentially knew the process, knew sales, knew how to close. They just weren't the top performing reps, right? They were okay. They knew what to do. They just weren't great at closing. So we made them managers, canvassing managers. And then the rest were canvassers, right? About 40 canvassers. And mind you, this was a rotating door, obviously, right? You got guys that come in, guys that leave. But this was essentially our structure. Now, if you compare this to before, where it was about 12 guys that were just all self-gen and they were half-assing things, this is a much better operating program. Granted, a lot of those guys that were self-gen, they quit, they got fired, they got let go. It's sometimes hard for old blood to adjust to new rules and new transitions, but it is very necessary in that actual role, right? So an advantage that Kyle had was he already had a training system in place. It wasn't the greatest, it wasn't perfect, but it was already somewhat there, right? Me along with Sam Tagger, along with Marcus Barrow, like we helped etch it out. This is the issue we came across. We first started using Indeed. We started using Indeed as a way to recruit like every other company. In his area, I'm not saying it's going to happen for every area, but in his area, um, there were a lot of just bad apples on job boards, right? There's no secret. If you're on a job board and you're looking for a job, 9 times out of 10, you're probably desperate. You're probably not like a prime candidate, right? People who look for jobs constantly are just not the best candidates. They're desperate. And on top of that, when they're on job boards, they're clicking a million things. Click, 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 click. So we were running into that a lot. We're a lot of guys who were coming us at the call, who were coming into, the office and just were not great people. They were just not great people at all, right? One of our processes that we do is group calls. And this is something that I learned working with Lee Haight. Lee Haight is big on like group calls, group calls, group calls. And the reason why group calls work so well is because you're able to filter out at scale. So this is what we were seeing with the job board stuff. Like we're getting 30 people that would book a call with us for the interview, and maybe only 6 of them would show, and all 6 were just horrible people. We can just see it, right? No shirt, some were high, some were not paying attention, driving in their car. It was just a lot of stuff where we're just like, this is not a prime candidate. And this is what we were getting from job boards. So my background specifically, I've worked in the roofing space for about 7 years, but even before that, I used to work with a lot of online marketers, right? Some of the big names that you may know or may not know, right? Doesn't matter. And they're big on ads, funnels. That's like their thing. And that's what I came up doing. That's what I learned. I built out a funnel for them, and I built out a custom based CRM, right? Because I was like, if we're going to get a ton of people through the door, I have to be able to track them. This is where the custom applicant tracking system comes in, right? This is essentially what I did. And at the time we were kind of working with Sam Taggart, and I went to their applicant tracking system, and it was just very like old school, very outdated. And I was like, I can build something very like way better. And that's what I did. Obviously, I took little bits and pieces from theirs and I implemented it into Kyle's. But this way they own it. See, that's another thing. When you hire a recruiter or a recruitment agency or someone to recruit for you, they own the data. And by the data, I mean they own the applicants. Everyone that applies, they own them. They have their info, their phone number, their email. You don't own them. So if you are a owner, I think you should, I thoroughly think you should own your data, or else someone's going to use it against you. This is where I tell owner CEOs, build your own applicant tracking system. So, okay, we built out the funnel and we launched ads. And I use a similar framework that we use for all types of ads that we use, right? Like every ad that I've used for leads. So there's top of funnel, there's middle funnel, and there's bottom funnel, right? So top of funnel ads, these are all ads, by the way, are usually things that capture interest, right? So in recruiting, it'll be something like, oh, make $10,000 in 30 days, or make 6 figures in 6 months, or something like, something typical that people always pitch when it comes to recruiting for door-to-door sales. Knock doors and buy a Mercedes or something like that. Very, very like, I don't want to say clickbaity, but very like, here, just be interested in this, right? And this is where you're going to get maybe, let's say, 80% of leads. And when I say leads, I mean applicants, right? Cool. They're going to come from this top of funnel. Middle funnel, right? Middle funnel is explaining a little bit more what this is. So, education based. So for recruiting, middle funnel can be how door-to-door sales changed my life. What type of objection, how to handle XYZ objections. How I made 10 grand in 30 days, right? Because the first one, the top of funnel, you're explaining, make 10 grand in 30 days. But the middle one, you're explaining exactly how that works. Oh, I knocked X amount of doors, signed X amount of contingencies, but like you're really explaining the process. Granted, these are all ads. So they're all 1 minute, 45-second long clips. You just have to structure it the right way. And this is where you're going to get about, 30% conversion, right? Out of all the 80% of people that opt in, 30% are going to convert through the middle funnel, right? Now, the bottom funnel is where you really make people buy. Is really when you really close, you sell people on this vision. And these are usually, testimonial based. So for recruiting, this would be other sales reps on how they made money in your company, right? You get the top 5 sales reps, put them on camera, and they explain, I took home $250,000 last year. I'm $1 million producer, blah, 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 blah. Changed my life. I used to work at Walmart for $10 an hour. Like, you really go into their story. And this helps for the bottom funnel. And these are the ads. Hold on. Testimonial. based ads. These convert 70%. Because by the time they hit this, they've already seen all the other touch points. They top of funnel, middle funnel, like they've already seen the rest of these ads. They've seen this, they've seen that. Now they're here, right? And then from here, we retarget. Obviously, that's how we kind of scrape up the rest of these guys. Retarget. That's a whole nother conversation. I don't want to confuse you, but essentially, these are the type of ads that we do, right? And what I tell all my clients, and what we did with Kyle, is we spent 1,500 bucks a month, and then as we saw traction, we ramped it up. By the end of it, he was spending about $5,000 a month, right? By the end of towards the end of like usually like the last year that we were working together. But in the beginning, $1,500 a month, and we were getting good traction, right? Now that's the ads, okay? And I'm going to throw some examples of some ads here so you guys kind of get an idea of what this is. Now, these are all ads, right? Now, there's something else that we did when it comes to the content. So, content, we would post content every single day, and the content was segmented into 3 types of content. Oops, sorry. 3 types of content for recruiting. Okay? So 1, inspirational, which can be, flashy stuff, money, lifestyle, right? That's inspirational content. Second, similar to ads, second can be what we do exactly. What we do. So it's like education based again. Education based. Right? So what we do, how it works. And then 3, the third type of content that we usually put as well is similar to testimonials. People we've helped, how we've helped, or just helping people in general, right? Testimonial based content. And this is important because it's obviously you want to kind of show people like, hey, like I've made a ton of money, we made a ton of money, but unless you can put a name and a face to something else, then that right there kind of shows you like, that this is legit. Because a lot of the problem with door-to-door sales in general, a lot of people think it's a scam. And there are a lot of scams out there, especially in door-to-door space. But if you're someone who you can show other people you've helped, not just one other person, 2, 3, 4, 5, even quick wins, even if they're not $1 million producer, if you bring someone in from the street, maybe he was a bartender or whatever, and he comes in and he lands his first deal, record that. Record it, highlight it, throw it on your story, make a post, champion your people. Even if they're not $1 million producers, as long as they're making wins, champion those people. Other people are going to see that and want to be a part of it. And that right there is how little by little you build the culture, right? So that's what we did with Kyle and content, with the ads and the content, and that's how we funneled people in, right? We had people fill out a type form. That's how we qualify them, and then from there, now we're going to get into the actual process, right? So ads and content. Okay, ads and content. And from there, we funneled everyone to a landing page. And the reason why I chose to do this is because, when I talk to a lot of old school recruiters, what they'll do is, from my understanding, is they'll do things on job boards and they'll just hit the phones dialing. Now, granted, that does work, right? That's something that we've implemented to our business now as well, just through trial and error. So we do both, but we do a hybrid model just because dialing all day, every day, that's not a good use of your time. We want people who are genuinely interested and invested in this. And for us to see that they are invested and interested in this position, in this job, in this role, there has to be some action on their end. We can't just we're not in the chasing game, we're in the attraction game, right? So from the landing page, on the landing page, and I'll throw it up on here as well. On the landing page, we're continuously selling as well. We're talking about the vision, the opportunity, what it does, who it helps, how we've helped, all the content that I've told you on the ads and on the organic stuff. We throw all that stuff, not all of it, but we throw the best ones on the landing page. We want people to see the landing page, scroll on their phone, and be sold immediately, right? So another thing on the landing page that we do is we make people book their own interviews, but we only allow 2 days a week for them to do interviews. It's not a Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 a.m. No. We only do interviews this day and this day. These are the only slots we have open. If you want this, you have to accommodate for that schedule. If you can't, then that shows us that you're not interested. Now, granted, some people we do make exceptions for, but not a lot. Not a lot. Like we really have to see like that you're really interested or you are a quality person, meaning you have, we've made exceptions for like sales managers, certain types of people are like, okay, like we can schedule you separate. We can schedule you apart. But for most guys, they have to kind of fit into our program. And this is a quick psychological test that we put them through based on it helps to see if you're going to be coachable when you come into the company. If you already have an ego when it comes to this, we already see this is going to be an issue and we don't want to work with you. But if you come in and we see that you accommodate and you're willing to kind of just, either take off or take a lunch break and hop on the call and you're sit there on Zoom, on your car, on your phone, and you're ready, you're primed, you're ready, you're there, you're locked in. That right there shows us like, okay, you can come in here and fit into our culture, right? So we don't make a lot of exceptions for people. And then from the landing page, there is a group call. And the group call is not an interview. The group call is more so a presentation, right? We don't ask them anything about themselves, maybe in the beginning just to kill time, but really we hop on, we talk about the company, we talk about the vision, we talk about the opportunity, we talk about everything that this entails. We don't talk about pay in detail. Obviously, we do talk about pay a little bit. We structure it a certain kind of way, but we don't talk about pay in detail. But overall, this is for people to see what this is and what it entails and what the role is. And then from there, we end the call with saying, okay, guys, by show of hands, let me know if this is something that you'll be interested in, something that you can see yourself doing. And be very honest with us, guys. If you're not interested, that's fine too. And usually what happens, about 70% of people raise their hand, right? Usually there's a few guys that kind of like, yeah, this isn't for me. That's fine. That's perfect. We love that. Don't waste our time. Get off the call now. So the ones that raise their hand, we kind of gauge. And this is why I love Zoom calls, is because on Zoom, we can see who's who. We can see you're good, you're not good, you look like you fit, you have your shirt off on the call, you're smoking, like you're not a good fit. We can weed out. So even if they're interested, if they're not a good fit, we don't even contact them. We only contact the guys that we kind of gauge and see like, okay, you can be a good fit. And everyone that's a good fit, we're like, okay, we're going to reach out pretty soon. Everyone else, thank you for your time. We'll be in contact. And the guys that we pick, obviously we have assistants on the call that are taking names down. If not, we also ask too. Like some people hop on, they'll say like iPhone, iPhone user, and we're like, hey man, like iPhone user, like what's your real name? And they'll tell me their name and whatever. And then from there, we already have their info, right? Because on the landing page, when they book a call, we get their data. For them to book a call, it's like, give me your name, give me your email, give me your phone number. So we already have that. Oh, Johnny, you're interested? Okay, Johnny, I'm going to give you a call. And then right after this, we have used AI, we automate the one-on-one link, and we try to get them to book that day or the next day. We don't want them to wait too long. So once they book that interview, that's a one-on-one interview. That's a real more structured interview process. That's not much of a presentation. That's at this point, that's them selling us on why they should join our company, which is what you want. And then from there, once they pass the interview process and we see that they're a good fit, we schedule an in-person for them at the office. And that can be a boot camp, a training, orientation, onboarding, whatever it is. It depends on the client. Everyone has their own different preferences. But with Kyle, it was an onboarding boot camp. Now, let's go into the actual pay structure.
The pay scale, how the pay scale works?
Oh, yeah, the pay scale. So break down the pay scale for a lot of these guys. Because was it shift? Was this sliding a sliding pay scale or no?
Um, well, the pay scale that we had at first didn't make sense. I'm not gonna lie to you, it changed a lot because it was new to us and it was new to the industry, so we were tweaking it. We
Yeah.
got the canvassing program came from the solar company's mindset because a lot of solar companies run a setter closer model. So
Yeah.
we took that model and adopted it and modified it to our business model. So it's very similar to the setter model, setter closer thing. The only problem with that is, solar guys get paid a lot differently than roofs. There's a lot of it's a lot more complicated, a lot more intricate and things like that. A lot of people finance solar. They don't go through insurance companies for solar. So
Hmm.
pretty much when you finance it, if it's a $200,000 system, the bank clears it, the money's instantly paid. The money's there. It's a little bit different with the roofing game because a lot of times you front a lot of the money as you wait for it to come back from insurance companies to do the project. So once we did some number crunching and stuff like that, we decided that what makes the most sense for the company to win and the canvassers to win and the area managers to win, right? What makes the most sense. So what we said was, well, canvassers don't know too much. Who's going to have to do inspect their jobs and all that? Area managers, right? So a canvasser would knock on the door, set an appointment. He would get $200, right? He gets the $200. The area manager inspects it, does the adjuster meeting, rewrite, and all that stuff. Boom. He inherits the job. He would get 12% of the RCV or the contract, right?
Hmm.
So there's that. Then after the guys, this is the new one that we run now. So after 2 weeks of being a canvasser, you then graduate to a junior rep, right? A junior rep, they now knock doors, they set appointments, they can also run their own inspections, and they can call in claims. They get $200 per contingency, just like a area canvasser would. But the only difference is they get $250 per rewrite or 2% of the claim, whichever's more, right?
Yeah.
And now the area manager, if he manages that job and rewrites it because a junior rep doesn't have a nimbus, so somebody has to manage it, he now gets 10%. So instead of him getting 12 on a canvasser, he gets 10% on a junior rep. That extra 2% different goes to the junior rep. So it's still 12% of the job, right?
Yeah.
Then after those last 2 to 3 weeks, if they show exceptional, learning or whatever, and they can handle it, they then graduate to a rep. They lose the 2%. They lose the rewrite costs, but they now get a profit share of the net, or they can choose to stay in that model.
Yeah. 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 Okay, that
Mhm.
makes sense. And
That's how they get paid.
and you guys found that that's like the best model that worked the best.
Yes, that's the best. That's the best model. And then I know that a lot of reps ask about the supplement. Nobody gets paid on the supplement.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy that they even know about that.
Yes, no, because the area managers would know about that because they're reps, so they're used to getting profit share, so they know a supplement is coming. However, the canvassing program is not designed for reps to make the most money. The canvassing program is designed for the company to make the most money. That way, they can, pay, get more trucks, wrap them, bigger offices, more employees, company trips, uniforms. That money has to come from somewhere. How can you run 100% of the business giving away 50% of your profit to reps?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And all these things that you're saying, like the trips, the company, the uniform, the company
Mm-hmm.
trucks, all that stuff plays into the culture. And would you say
Mm-hmm.
like that stuff helps with the retention?
Yeah, it helps with retention. Exactly. 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 So that's why we don't pay on the supplement. And we do pay on the supplement, but go get your own deals. You want to make the most money, go get your own deals. But if you
Yeah,
want to help the company grow and take guys out, then be a area manager and help. And then those guys, and of course, your A-list superstars are not going to do it. If you have somebody who's doing $2 million in sales, he's not going to do that for 12% because
yeah,
he can go get his own deals. But let's say we have somebody who's an OG, knows what to do, they're lazy, and they're only getting 1 or 2 deals a month. You're
yeah,
not making any money. Okay, well, let's take your lazy or let's take your skill set and knowledge, put you with 5 canvassers, and you get 12, and if each one of them gets two, you get 12% of 10 jobs. You're making way more money now than you was if you was doing it by yourself, and you don't have to knock doors. All you
yeah,
gotta do is manage jobs. So you win because you make more money, but you take less. but because you take less in quality, you make up the difference in quantity because you have so many jobs, you're getting 12% on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that does make
So
sense.
you'll make way more money than you was making if you was doing it by yourself. So you might as well be an area manager.
One of the issues that we actually ran into with Kyle as well is, how fast we almost broke the company in a good way, right? And what I mean by that is exactly that there was way too much success too fast. A lot of these reps started producing pretty quickly, and there was an overflow of jobs. So what happened was we didn't have enough on the back end to collect, right? Like we had to hire extra people in collections, we had to hire project managers, payroll managers. There was a lot of things on the back end because a lot of people say, "Hey, Alex, I want 100 reps. I want 100 reps. 100. I want 100 reps." And when we get you 100 reps, can you really handle that influx of everything?
Just think if you have, 30, 50 reps that are ready in a smooth operating system, you'd have to create a system from the ground up to bring in another 50, 60 people that don't know anything at all and train them and close their deal and manage those deals. Then on top of that, let's say your company does, you know, 500 deals in a year. You bring another 50, 60 canvassers, they might bring another 300 jobs. So the volume doubles and you don't have the office staff and the system to handle that immediate influx of jobs. You get overwhelmed quickly. That's the problem that we ran into. We had a couple jobs and it was slow. Canvassing program came in within 90 days. We were backed up and had more jobs than we could do with. Because you got to think, if you have 20 canvassers and they sign up everything, if each canvasser gets 2 deals a week, that's 40 jobs a week.
Yeah.
New jobs on top of the old jobs you have. And it can get backed up very quickly if you're not on top of things.
This is why we work with companies who are only generating 8 figures and up in their revenue, because when you have all these people and you have all these jobs being produced, you need to spend more money on the back end team. And if you don't have that money, your business is going to break. You will drown in your own success. So that's why, one of the qualifications are you have to be making money. You have to have cash flow, or else we're going to do too good of a job and you're going to be stuck, which is what we do not want. Right? I don't think we want that. I don't think you guys want that. So again, guys, just so you guys have some understanding, what we actually do for home service companies is we build your recruiting funnel and applicant tracking system, right? We design and launch your ad and content engine. We build out your group interview, the one-on-ones, the bootcamp flow. We build it out from A to Z. We architect your pay plan and ramp up structure, right? That way you're not just wasting money on these reps who don't produce. We architect everything from A to Z. We help you hire and train your first go round, right? Your first go round of candidates. We help hire and train. We help hire, onboard, and train these guys. And we work with your leadership team to make sure that the system sticks. That's what we did for Kyle. That's what the $300,000 were for, because all this stuff takes money, right? It's not a 300K in our pocket. It's investing in proper management, the systems, the back ends, the ad spend, XYZ. And that's essentially what produced $1.6 million, 1.6 million in revenue. Now, a lot of people say, well, how do I know this will work in my market? This works in any market where there is door-to-door sales, right? Whether you're insurance or retail, doesn't matter. This will work as long as you have proper training put in place. We can help you with that, obviously, you know, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be reliant on a sales rep. You want to rely on your own system. The minute that you just simply rely on a sales rep, you're a slave to that sales rep. He's going to want more. He's going to get cocky. He's going to think he runs the company. No, you want to be able to take zeros and turn them into heroes. That's what you want. We help you build that out with the training, onboarding, recruiting, XYZ front to back. And that's pretty much it for the pay side of things, right? So the way that we structure the actual bootcamp class, I know I kind of worked backwards, but bootcamp structure. Day 1, day 2, day 3. So day 1, usually we talk about product, market, opportunity, sales, right? Um, when it comes to sales, it's like metrics, objection handling, etc., etc. Day one is usually meant more so to educate them on the roofing process, on the roofing business, on the roofing company, on like what things are. Um, we try not to do a full 8, 10, 12 hour day. Try to keep it anywhere between 6 to 8 hours. Just because people usually tone out, they zone out, they tune things out. And at the end of the day, this is not a paid training. And the way you handle that is usually when people ask, hey, is this a paid training? We'll say, yeah, this is part of the ramp up. If you make it for the past 2 weeks, you'll get paid for the training. Obviously, if you come in and you don't make it and you quit day 3, day 4, or day 5, and you don't produce, then obviously you're not getting paid. That's usually how I explain to people. They're like, oh, okay, we get it, we fully understand. So this is day 1. Day 2, there's objection handling, role play, and then hit the doors. So the objection handling and the role play is usually in the morning. We have people come in like around 9, 10 o'clock, and this goes until the noon. And then from noon to 6 or noon to 7, they go out and they hit the doors and they knock. This is important because really quickly we want to put them out there and we want them to know what they're getting themselves into, and we want to be able to see what they're doing, who they are, and can they handle this. Again, they're going out there with the sales rep or with the sales manager. We put all of our door knockers or canvassers in they carpool. So it's either 5, 6 guys, 7 guys riding together, either in a van or in a truck or in a vehicle. But overall, it's just meant to build that camaraderie, right? Because you send someone out there alone, they're going to be, it's just it's a little intimidating. Day 3 is the scavenger hunt, and this is something that Sam Taggart helped us with. And the reason why this is important is because you have to gamify door knocking. Door knocking itself isn't fun. It's a little intimidating. People don't like it. So you have to gamify it, right? So in the scavenger hunt, what you'll do is you can just use ChatGPT. I'll probably make a video explaining what ChatGPT, like how to use ChatGPT to do this. But pretty much you just come up with a game plan. We're like, hey, take a selfie with a stop sign. Take a selfie with a dog. Take a selfie with a no soliciting sign. Take a selfie with a homeowner. You just have to make it fun. And the reason, again, is to take off the pressure of actually closing deals. You don't want pressure in them closing deals. You want to just be able to have fun and just get into the habit and the rhythm of door knocking. The way we deal with things are day 1 and day 2 are mandatory. Day 1 is the most important day. If they don't make it day 1, they can't come to day 2, because day 1 is where we really go over like what this company is and what the opportunity is. So if day 1, day 2, day 3, if you don't come day 3, again, it's a case by case basis, but day 1 and day 2 are mandatory. Day 1 is the most important day. And that's pretty much how we structured the bootcamp class. The whole purpose of this is obviously to make more money, but let's take a step back and let's imagine things 12 months from now. You are in a brand new office, you are expanding, you have a healthy flow of recruits coming in, you're building culture, everyone's out there producing, everyone's going from door knocker to closer. Some people are going to self-gen. Some guys have been like, at this point, you have a huge team who is out there paying for themselves hand over fist. That is the purpose of this system that we implement. Yeah, sure, you can run ads. Yeah, sure, there's call centers. Yeah, sure, there's a ton of things where you can generate leads, but if you don't have the personnel, if you don't have the army to do this, a lot of that stuff is going to be left to the wayside. And let's be honest, do you want to rely solely on 1 or 2 sales reps to close all these deals? No, because again, then you're a slave to these sales reps. You want a system, because once you have that system, you're not relying on any superstar. You don't have to deal with the ego. More importantly, you can remove yourself from the business. And this is what private equity looks for. They look for systems in companies, profitable systems that help things grow. They don't want superstars. They want to be able to plug and play, plug and play. And this is the plug and play recruiting system in your company. If you're a home service company doing 8 figures in revenue and you want a real sales engine, a real recruiting engine, not just a couple more reps, I put together a deeper breakdown, an application. Hit the link below, watch the training. If it makes sense, you can apply to have us install your company over the next 90 days.